everybody. This is Rich Hanlin with Mortgage Ballers, and today I got Keisha Shannon. Whether you know it or not, Keisha and I hook up out of the corporate office here in Suwanee, Georgia. She's actually one of our Georgia loan originators. On top of it, she's also a licensed real estate agent. On top of it, she's also an entrepreneur. On top of it, she's got a million things going because she never sleeps. We think she might be a vampire, but we haven't figured that out yet. Keisha, how you doing? Thanks for coming on the show today. I appreciate it.
Good. Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.
Right on. I appreciate you taking time. I mean, you're a hard person to track down right now because you're burning it up between here and Douglasville. So I get it. That's, by the way, for people who don't know, that's like hour and a half on the other side of Georgia. As you're heading on out to Alabama, you just got to go by there. But I think what we're figuring out is a state's a big place, but there's home opportunities, there's lender opportunities, there's real estate opportunities. And if you're willing to go where there's a need, hey, I'd love for everything to show up in my backyard, but it doesn't work that way. You know, you got to go find it where it's at. You do a really good job with that.
And trying to find where is that.
Well, and I want to make sure we give you recognition. Tell me a little bit about it. I know you just recently started some social media live stuff that you're doing on is it a weekly basis?
Yes. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m. It's called Live with Keisha.
Okay.
So I'm going to be talking about loan programs, pre-approval process, different things that involve with the mortgage process and real estate as well. I'm going to be highlighting some properties that just hit the market. Some of my realtors, I'm going to start highlighting some of their listings that they have. I'm also going to be just talking about the documentation that we need for mortgages and the steps, because a lot of people think purchasing a house is very difficult, and it's really not.
All right.
It's really not.
Well, I love it. I see some of the loans you're doing. You don't shy away from the hard ones. And I see you helping people all the way in. You're licensed out even where else? I know it's Georgia. Is it California? Florida. So I know you do Florida stuff. I know that we're licensed in 44 states. So you got people maneuvering there and you're taking advantage of those options. Hey, tell me this. I mean, obviously people in California, they can have one license and do both real estate, but you get outside California and that's the only state I'm aware of that you can do that. Everybody else, you got to have a lending license and you got to have a real estate license. Mm-hmm. How long have you been in both of those and had both those licenses?
I've been a real estate agent for 4.5 years.
Okay.
I've been a licensed mortgage loan originator for 2.5 years.
Okay. I didn't realize that. I would have figured you'd been like 12 years or something like that.
I was a processor. I started off originally as a mortgage processor. Okay. And I've been doing processing since I was 18, 19.
Okay.
So I was a mortgage processor all the way up until I became a real estate agent.
And you're 22 right now?
Actually, I'm going to be 50 actually in a couple of months. In June.
Oh, you're not supposed to tell that? Come on now. Well, I had you at 22.
I think it's an accomplishment. I'm starting to come into the wisdom.
I'm with you. I tell myself that every day. Today's the day. I'm better than I was yesterday. Mm-hmm. I want people to get to know you a little bit more. I'm lucky enough because I get to interact with you a lot. Tell me a little bit more. I know that you just started a private Facebook group. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, that Facebook group is called Ladies of Lending.
Okay.
And I just wanted to create a community of ladies, women that are in the lending industry, so we can come together, we can support each other, empower each other, uplift each other, and also learn off of each other.
Okay.
But I still consider myself a new loan officer, so there's a lot of things that I am constantly learning, a lot of things I don't understand that maybe some of the seasoned loan officers can help out with us coming aboard and help myself as well. I also created this group so we can do networking events as well. Mm-hmm. A lot of us need to get ourselves out there because that's a lot of our fears is getting in front of people. That's one of my fears, but I am slowly coming out of it. And that's
getting better at it. I've seen you talk twice now in front of a group of people, getting up there and doing your thing. And I will say this, because Keisha's all about the bling. She's all about having all the props. She's got shirts, hats, coffee mugs, and everything points back to her, which is by design. Just it's cool to watch.
And I do it all myself.
And you do it all yourself. That's right. That's right. Tell me this. Do you do it currently, and I don't know, real estate wise, loan wise, you can answer it for both. Are you part of any teams, or do you do everything on your own at this point in time?
I'm not part of a team. I am independent. I'm not on a real estate team at my brokerage.
Okay.
I'm not on a team here as well. I'm independent.
Okay. And is that fearful for you? Is it give you freedom? I mean, we talked about that when you came aboard, like Rich. I also do real estate, right? And some people say, but you got to kind of concentrate on one. And I'm like, I don't know anymore in these other states. It's been a tough 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And using all your knowledge to help people is becoming more of the new hybrid of people that I'm running into. And I think your knowledge level quadruples very quickly when you're working and hearing the side of those buyers and the other realtors, and you get into crowds that you can do it, that if you were just a loan originator, they'd say, oh, that's originator. Well, it's us realtors over here. But now you can talk over there just as much as you can talk on this side of the fence. And I think it gives you an advantage. I'm not trying to push realtors away. Not everybody wants to do that. I get it. But why not? They feed each other. Mm-hmm. And there's been months when the only thing I had was a real estate transaction because loans are tough, and I've had it the other way. I've always used my licensing as far out as I can to try and make a living because I never know what the next market is, and all just surviving in some way or another. Here we go right here. I want to talk about this part of it.
Sure.
If you had to give some advice, I mean, because you're hearing it from both sides, on the realtor side and the loan side, and I know you deal with other entrepreneurs and professionals. We know about Monique and stuff like that. We got life insurance. You've got people helping with credit. You got people helping. Oh gosh, I'm just trying to think of all the networking we just did the other day with all these other business owners. People trying to help people, and we were talking about all the different things. So you get it. We had who's the young lady, who's been on the political front in Atlanta, was there,
Odessa, and then
yes.
I forgot the other young lady's name. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I've never had that before. So we're hearing from a higher end, someone that's up in the political ranks or has been in that, and they see the housing and things like that at the government level of Georgia. And then we see it more on a localized level. But I've never married those two together. And it was interesting hearing that people don't realize, at least here in Georgia, our government officials do have a heart, and they know that it's getting expensive, and they want people in homes because they know that generational wealth can be accumulated or lost if people aren't given that one chance at least that first house. And it changes the trajectory of people's lives. And I've never been on the political side of it, but hearing that that much is up there and they're thinking about it, how do we do it? But then reaching back into you and saying, all right, Keisha, what do you see on your front? And how can we bring the two together? It's not enough to say, hey, we got HUD, we got USDA. It's like, well, where does that really fit in when we get out on the football field and people are actually under the lights, and we got to act and do and get it through? But what are you hearing out there? I want to hear from you. You talk to people all the time. Tell me what you're hearing.
I'm hearing a lot of people are having issues, of course, with credit. So a lot of people are not learning about credit, how to maintain their credit, which is very major factor when you're trying to become a homeowner. You have to have some type of credit and a decent credit score to get into a home. So I'm hearing a lot of that. I'm hearing a lot of asset issues. A lot of people don't have enough funds saved up. So they are looking for grants. They're looking for down payment assistance.
Yeah.
Those two are the main things that I'm mostly hearing. And then, of course, the prices of homes. The homes is too high, or the quality of homes. I'm also been hearing a lot about some of these new construction homes that a lot of homes and builders are putting up very quickly. Huh? People are getting into those homes, and then a year later, they're running into a lot of issues. And so I always stress, being that I'm on the real estate side and the lender side, I always stress to clients, make sure you get a home inspection so you know up front.
Even on a new home?
Yes, even on a new home.
Absolutely.
Believe it or not.
They cut corners. They do.
They do. One house that a person showed me, it was installation on one part of the room, but no installation on the other part. So it was like the workers must have forgot to come back. And
they're human, but someone's supposed to check that, right?
Yes.
One thing I notice on houses, and you don't realize it because you go and see the finished product and do the walkthrough, but Georgia gets a lot of rain. So these homes are exposed for a certain amount of time before they get a roof on, before they get the drywall on. And a lot of people don't realize what gets trapped in those walls. Even in California, it's the same thing, depending on what time of year it is. They just assume that when drywall goes up, there must be dry walls and lumber and stuff in there. And it could be soaking wet. But once they trap it in there, it's protected until you go to do a home improvement and you open that wall up. And I run that in California, Northern California, all of a sudden, like, hey, I got black mold. And I'm like, you do because you exposed the wall. You know, it's not, you've been doing fine, but now you've just exposed the wall and let the air in, and it's now a broken barrier. But most houses have some type of moisture trapped in them.
Yes.
Because they're exposed at some point in time. You know, I found that out the hard way. I had a lot of arbitration in California on after things. But I think the best thing you can do, I mean, we get appraisals. Well, we figured out the other day, Keisha, all these inspections are visual inspections where they can touch it, see it, look at it, but they can't visualize or cut into the walls to see what's in there. So unless there is obvious something going on that's coming through a wall, or they can see it visually where something's hanging, there's no way to know that.
Right.
They have these moisture things that they can go through the house and double check too. That's something that's newer. So I always tell people, hey, even if the seller pays for it, and right now it's a great market for getting sellers to kick in a lot, but you get every inspection you can to try, and no one wants to get anybody in the house and all of a sudden it took every dollar to get in there and then they have a major, I need a new roof or something.
Exactly.
I hate when I see that. It happens every now and then, but it's not by design. I promise you that.
Well, the pipes are old and pipes are burst.
Depending on the age of the house. Tell me this. We know you do loans. I know you do that 24/7. I know you do real estate 24/7. We know you're doing the women's Facebook professional group. We know you're doing all the events. We know you're driving all over up and down Georgia. When you're not, and if there is such a time in your day, when you're not doing loans, when you're not doing real estate, when you're not on the phone, who is that Keisha?
That Keisha, that Keisha is a very shy person, very quiet person.
All right.
Very friendly. I get along with everybody. I love, and don't judge me, but I love Snapped. I love crime TV shows. I love For My Men. I love, ATL Homicide. I love all those things. So my TV stays on those.
So you're solving crimes all the time, just like you solve loan problems? Okay, I get it.
Yes. Also, I love music. I love a lot of old school music. So I love, old school R&B, old school hip hop, and that's all I listen to. So I love my kids and my family, very family oriented. That's Keisha in a nutshell.
Well, tell everybody why we don't hear a Georgia accent.
Oh, I'm originally from New York, Southside, Jamaica, Queens.
All right, there we go.
I like to say that. My husband gets on me all the time because anytime an artist or anybody's from Queens, I'm always like, that's where I'm from. So I rep my borough all the time. So yeah, I'm from New York.
I like it.
I have 4 children, 3 girls, 1 son, grandson. So I'm a grandmom as well. And I also have 2 additional grandsons. So technically grandmother of 3. That's it. Empty nester. I love shoes. I love, what else can I say about Keisha? That's it.
I love shoes. We're going to start a shoe group for you. There was somebody else. I can't remember who it was. We have another loan officer and they showed their shoes. I was like, why in the world? You got a shoe problem is what you got. I've never seen so many shoes. I'm like, that's just, they love shoes. I was like, wow, I didn't know a closet could hold that many shoes.
Yeah, just like I'm sure. It looks like you like hats.
I like hats. I like hats that I have one that's a billboard and it moves so I can put messages on there and it runs. But
that's cool.
I didn't want to distract here. And this is the mortgage baller's hat. I throw it on. Of course, never too far from me is my Atlanta Braves hat.
Okay.
Wherever I go places, I like to find a hat because it reminds me of the places I go. And what do I mean by that? Like I go places where I have a good time. And I'll try and get something that reminds me. Yeah, I got the flat bill. Someone said, you're from California. That's because your hat. So I went and got a hat and it was bent all the way through. I couldn't see. I'm like, how do you guys see with these hats? I'm like, I had to straighten it out. And I'm like, that can't be a California thing. It's just,
New Yorkers do that too.
there we go.
Some of them do.
I mean, I have a friend that's from Tennessee and his hat's so curled. I'm like, how in the world, like, doesn't that bother you? You know, you're not even getting no shade from the sun, you know, it's kind of crazy. You know, what did you do? Now, I know you said you did processing, but that was way back when. Have you always done something like that in between, or what kind of jobs have you had?
In 2008.
Okay, I remember that.
You remember that time? I was laid off from Countrywide.
Oh, you're a Countrywide person. All right.
I was laid off, and it was hard trying to find something else.
Okay.
So I
went real tough. I know. I remember that too.
I went into collections.
All right. So, Amanda Ross too.
And that I didn't like that. I didn't like that. I didn't like getting hung up on trying to. A lot of rejection. A lot of rejection, trying to make people pay for something, and then, you know, that they didn't have funds to pay for in the first place, because that's why we're calling, because you didn't pay. So I did that, and that was it. Then once I got a call for a job back into processing, I jumped right back in, and that was it.
Okay. I have had lots of jobs. And about 6 of them were during that 2008 to 2012. I always kept my licenses, but there was a time there when I couldn't find a loan to save my life. Mm-hmm. So I got into insurance. I got into, you know, things that I could do nationwide versus just California. Because I thought, you know, one thing I learned about 2008 is each state acts differently when we go through these pullbacks. Mm-hmm. Georgia, for the most part, is actually doing pretty good, but people are still fearful across the whole nation to do anything. We're all waiting to see, you know, what's really going to happen next.
Yeah.
But at the same point, someone talked the other day, and we were talking about this too. I think it was Hano. I interviewed him the first day, and he said, you know, his thing is about educating people right now, because he has a lot of people and realtors. He says, what's holding your people back right now? And they're, you know, most of them want to see it. They could just get back to a 5.5, 5.75 interest rate. They feel like that would get them off the fence. And he's like, well, I can get that for them today in a 2-1 buy down.
Right.
But they're like, oh, he's like, well, there's something that you've got to educate, and this is how he's doing it. And I would give this to you too, because I thought this is really good. Right now, there's no competition for those houses. Mm-hmm. It's a buyer's market, and the sellers are willing to help with a lot of credit. When we say credit, we're talking about money that the seller will put towards the buyer's transaction to help with closing costs. And they can't help with the down payment, but if you have a 0 down or low down, but they can cover your closing cost up to a certain point, and they can help you with buy downs. A buy down means, let's say the rate's 7. So the first year would be 5, the second year would be 6, and then it would go to 7. And they pay for that up front to help ease people in, buying them time, because we do think the rates are going to start dropping. But when the rates drop, now it's the opposite. No more, there's going to be 40 people bidding on the same house. There's going to be no more seller credits. You're going to have to be coming in with the strongest offers. And so waiting sometimes puts you in a different market and a different leverage. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, that's actually pretty good, because we can do those 2-1 buy. Believe it or not, back in the day, FHA had a 3-2-1 buy down.
3-2-1.
You could get really low rates there for a while. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I wish they'd come bring it back, but you know, now values are so big. I mean, those buy downs get expensive. Yeah. So without the seller helping, and they say, why would a seller help? Well, Georgia's values have gone up a lot. All of a sudden you have, you go from having 50, 60,000. Now you have 250, 260,000 of equity. Mm-hmm. A seller might give up a little bit of that because they want to capture that so they can move on and get to the next property that they're doing. And it creates opportunity, you know, all the way backfills itself, because someone's going to buy that house. Every one of us puts our head on a pillow somewhere every single night. And either it's your pillow or you're renting that pillow, and believe it, you're paying somebody else's investment. Let's build, you know, together we need to build that first entrepreneur that says, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. Because Keisha, that's the difference.
Yes.
We have all these people lined up, but somebody says, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. And the other person says, I'm too fearful. You speak and you're like, oh, I'm nervous to get up there. But last time I checked, there wasn't nobody throwing anything at you. They like what you have to say. And that's how it all starts. It's you jump up there and your confidence starts to come through, and they remember you. They say, gosh, I saw her speak 3 times ago. Wow, she's really getting strong. And you will. You get better and better and better. And I love that because I've seen it myself.
Thank you. Thank you. I actually did a Zoom call last night with a realtor who was also into the credit space as well.
Okay.
And she talked about financial literacy and things that you can do to fix your credit. And I talked about mortgage programs and generational wealth. You start off with that first home, keep the first home, take the equity out, buy another home and rent that out. So I also talked briefly about DSCR loans for investors. And, that's
I like those loans.
that's a thing that's coming around now. I'm hearing a lot of people are looking into DSCR loans, especially now that they know that they don't have to be a first-time investor.
Yeah, that program, and the reason why it's not all the guidelines and protections around people's primary residences. When you buy an investment, that falls under a business transaction, and business guidelines are different than residential guidelines. And it's actually good. Can you get a loan from a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac lender and fall under those other guidelines? Sure, all day long, but you're going to supply a tremendous amount of paperwork in order to do that, where the debt service credit loan is designed just for that transaction. Can that rental property, based on the long-term rents that the appraiser says this is what this thing can rent for, if that can cover the payment at a 1:1 to 1:15 ratio, so you don't even have to have, total coverage, they will do that because they know no matter whether you pay your bills or not, we know we can get market rent of X amount to cover that payment. So if you don't make the payments because you're purposely not making that payment, because we know you can afford it. And that's the way big commercial loans are too.
Yeah.
I may take it out, but they're like, well, what's the business behind it? Is there, inventory? And if the inventory sells and based on the average, we know you can make this payment no matter who owns the building or who owns the business, we can see that it's going to get paid. The hardest part I'm seeing right now are people that are using every dime to get into a house, and the very next year, insurance is going up.
Yes.
And Florida might be more so than Georgia, but yeah, what do you run into? Oh, by the way, why Florida out of all the states? That's a big difference. Georgia and Florida, that are close together, but where'd that come from?
Well, I have family in Florida.
Okay.
I like visiting over there, especially in the summertime. It's warm. I like to have homes over there as well. So I said, why not Florida? I like the homes. I love the pools. I love the beaches. And then, because I have family over there and my brother has a lot of friends, so he helps me out. He always shouts me out and let everybody know, hey, my little sis does this, my little sis does that. I said, okay, well, I'm going to get licensed in Florida.
It's a good state.
Yeah, that's one of my, that's on my list for this summer, to try to go back and forth to Florida and here and try to get some business.
Burn up the highway between here and there?
Yes, because I don't like planes.
Yeah.
I do not like planes. And what I'm hearing now and seeing all over the news.
It took us 5 hours to get to St. Pete from Brazelton, Georgia. So it's probably 4 hours maybe from Atlanta, because you got to get everything goes through Atlanta. You start the southern part of Georgia, people don't realize is different than the northern part of Georgia. And right about Atlanta, maybe right below that, is where you start to feel like that heat, like the Florida type weather.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the storms pass through. We've talked about, you can buy brand new homes down there for 150, 175,000. I'm not talking mobile homes. I'm talking D.R. Horton, neighborhood, stuff like that. Get down there about around the bases, Warner Robins and Macon. You can do that. You cross over into Florida. And then obviously, people think Florida, think, oh, Miami. It's like, no, Florida's pretty spread out. You got some very diverse neighborhoods. There's even, cattle land in, when you're first getting into Florida. I'm like, I didn't realize they had cattle in Florida. I would think all the grass is gone, but it's like, no, they have some big properties out there where people are still farming, stuff like that. So I've been learning a lot since I moved to Georgia.
Okay.
Come from California, so you're coast to coast, but somehow we're in Georgia. How long have you been in Georgia?
I've been in Georgia since 2006.
Okay, all right. So quite a while. You've seen a lot then. You've seen a lot. The state has changed a lot just in the last couple of years, because a lot of people maneuvering after the C word happened. They started coming off the coast and East Coast, West Coast, coming in thinking, I need something different. And California's still an interesting place. I mean, love it, but they just have a lot of crazy stuff going on up there. And, it was a good move for us when we made it here to Georgia. I'm glad we did.
Yeah, just like New York. When I first came down here, I was so excited and so amazed that, oh my God, I can park in a driveway. I don't have to move my car. I don't have
That's
to
true.
circle around and worry about somebody breaking into my car or and the food. The food was good down here as well. And then the amount of space that I was able to get for the price of the house. When I came down here, I bought a house, my first house down here, and it was 185. It was a split level home, 5 bedrooms, 4
Wow.
bathrooms.
That's a big house.
Yeah. And I was like, for 185? Coming from New York, and I was like, in New York, we had a 2-family house, and the rent for what I was paying for my mortgage payment here, my rent was more in New York for an apartment, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Up there, I just had 2.5 bedrooms, and I say half because the other one was so small, and 1 bathroom and 1 kitchen. And then
People are still doing that right now today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to wrap this up. I appreciate you giving me 30 minutes of your time so that we can find out who Keisha Shannon is. We learned that you do have 2 licenses. We learned that you're also part of a professional women's group that you're
Ladies of Lending.
Say it again.
Ladies of Lending.
Ladies of Lending. We also know that you do live stuff once a week. We'll make sure all of those connections are down in your video so that if people want to connect with you on those things, they can do it. But
Right.
like always, I want to say thank you for your time today. I want to say thank you for, I know you go 100 miles an hour because I hardly ever see you.
Yes.
Until you record it, I'm like, oh, there she is. But you say you've only been doing it 2.5 years, but you're doing what people say, Rich, what would you do today to get business? Well, I do exactly what Keisha's doing. I would do networking events. I would do live stuff. I'd record stuff. I would have stuff I can hand out. Because doing all those things, one month it might be the coffee mug that gets you the conversation. The next month it might be the networking event. And part of your networking events is people helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the more they help each other and get brought into conversations, because when people get a house, they're going to need insurance, whether it's just homeowners insurance. On top of it, those people also were, talking with Monique about whole life insurance, cash value, how you use that. It's about re-educating and changing people's lives, just one conversation at a time. But when you have such a strong network of people that you can just say, I got someone for that. Hold on a second. I got someone for that. And you can just keep plugging those people. I have people I've known for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
If I need them, I can call them and get information right now, which that means a lot to me because they know if I'm calling, I probably have somebody that they might be able to help.
Yes. And that's my passion. That's my goal. I love putting people to get a piece of the American dream.
It is.
And if I'm just a small part of it that I helped you, that makes my heart fill.
Well, I like it. All right. I'm going to close this out. I want to say thank you for your time. And like we always say when we close it out,
Thank you.
stay thirsty, my friends. Gotcha.